GTA 6 when? Do you know anything about GTA 6 and when Rockstar will it official announce? GTA 6, please when it come out it's gon' be #1 best game. Where TF is Elder Scrolls 6? What is Joe Biden's plan for releasing Elder Scrolls 6? Me when still no Silksong, when Silksong is trending. Day 124,558,000. Yes, not showing anything of Silksong. I want more Elder to my face. And I know it's been 12. Gamers are impatient. That's it, that's the video. I don't have any hard data to back this claim up, but in my experience, it really feels like gamers are much more restless today than when I was growing up. Of course, people have always rode the hype train for new releases of their favorite franchises, but something seems different now. It feels like every time I unlock my phone or browse the YouTube comment section or peruse the toxic cesspools of a gamer subreddit that people are angry about being left in the dark, chomping at the bit for any crumb of an update on their favorite series. Sometimes it's because a game that was supposed to be here already has been delayed. Sometimes it's because a game was officially announced, but the devs have since gone radio silent for months or even years. And sometimes you get people pestering companies for a release date when a new entry hasn't even actually been announced. Now, before you get defensive and get your gamer diapers in a bunch, I'm not excluding myself from this conversation. While I'd like to think I'm usually a pretty patient and rational person, I am not immune to wild, baseless speculation. If there's one community that I can truly call myself a card-carrying member of, it's the Souls community. I have literally spent thousands of hours playing and even challenge running From Software's games from Demon Souls to Elden Ring, but particularly Bloodborne. And if you know anything about Bloodborne fans, you know that every time there's so much as a peep of a press conference or a state of play or an award show being announced, we all collectively take a big huff of the community copium and start forming conspiracy theories about how actually this is the one where a Bloodborne remaster or remake or PC port gets announced, for real this time. And then when that proceeds to not happen, because why would it, we all collectively start tweeting at Sony like they just shit in our cereal.
You got a lot of fucking balls, you know that?
Don't talk to me like that.
But why do we do this? Why should we feel entitled to a game? Some people might say, well, I've been waiting for this game for X amount of time, I have a right to know. To which I would reply, you haven't been waiting for anything. I mean, maybe passively, but not actively. It's not like you've been sitting there twiddling your thumbs with nothing else to occupy your time. You've been living your life, going about your business, and more than likely playing other games that have come out in the meantime. Really, if anyone has been waiting for the game, it's the developers. You aren't the one putting your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You haven't spent every waking moment of the last 3, 4, 5, or even more years paranoid that after all your hard work, it'll get overshadowed by another release or get less than an 80 on Metacritic. To you, it's just a game, but to them, it might be the biggest project they'll ever work on. I assure you that they want this game to come out even more than you do. And just like you, they usually want the game to be, I don't know, good. If I had $1 for every time a gaming YouTuber said that misattributed Miyamoto quote, I'd be able to buy Nintendo myself, so I'll spare you the proverb. But we've seen time and time again what happens when a game comes out before it's ready. And is that really what you want? Granted, a dev is responsible for the state of the games they release the same way a restaurant is responsible for the orders they send out of the kitchen. But if you order dinner and then berate the waiter with literal death threats if it's 2 minutes late, are you not at least somewhat to blame when it comes out medium rare? This isn't just on the players though, before you call me a corporate cheerleader or something. Many of these companies set their fan bases up for disappointment by jumping the gun with their marketing or setting unrealistic expectations. Cyberpunk, an infamous example, was announced 4 years before they even started working on the game. They had no business doing that, especially for a new IP. It's like saying, hey, this thing you didn't even know existed? Well, here's us announcing that it might exist 3 presidents from now. Do what you will with that information. And even when it's the sequel to an established series, what is the point of announcing it so early when you don't have anything to show for it? Skyrim is one of the most successful video games of all time, so anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together knew that there would be an Elder Scrolls 6 eventually. What did this vague CGI trailer of some mountains and text really accomplish if they were still going to be working on Starfield for the next 5 years? Which they announced at the exact same event, by the way. Coming back to From Software for a second, Elden Ring's marketing cycle was handled beautifully in my opinion. They started development in secret, worked on it for 2 years before teasing it by showing off actual characters that would be in the final game, and then they shut the fuck up for the next 2 years until they said, hey, here's what the game actually looks like. You can buy it in 6 months. And barring a single 5-week delay, it actually came out. Sure, there were no shortage of Elden Ring isn't real memes in between trailers, but at least the game was well on its way before announcing it, and in the grand scheme of things, 2.5 years from announcement to release isn't very long at all. I understand that video games are more expensive to make than ever, and the publishers as well as investors really want to ensure that there's as much hype and awareness as possible prior to launch to make sure they get a healthy return on investment. But Bethesda themselves have done this better before. Fallout 4 was announced 5 months before its release, and it grossed $750 million on the first day. And if the recent success of Shadow Drop titles like Metroid Prime Remaster and Hi-Fi Rush have anything to teach us, it's that holding your cards close to your chest can pay off as long as you have a winning hand. None of this excuses players from overreacting though. To be clear, there's no harm in being excited for a game or frustrated with a lack of information. I'm a huge Half-Life fan, so I know how slow time can move when things appear to be in limbo. The expression, not the game. But leaking, harassing, doxing, and threatening the lives of devs and publishers because a game isn't coming along fast enough for you, or any other reason for that matter, is completely over the line and inexcusable. I'm baffled that I have to say that out loud because it should go without saying, but apparently some people just don't know how to act right. Who knows though? Maybe gamers have always been this impatient, and social media along with growing game development cycles have just helped expose it. Or maybe in the internet age where instant gratification is king, waiting for anything these days feels akin to torture. I know this is gonna sound corny as hell, but I think the best thing that we can do, not only to feel better, but be better, is to stop and smell the roses. Look, I know that rushed games, unoptimized ports, shady workplace environments, microtransactions, and NFTs can make us feel pretty cynical about the current state of gaming. But I'd like to offer a bit of optimism and suggest that maybe, just maybe, there has never been a better time to be a video game enjoyer. Sure, there's a lot of problems in the industry right now, and I do get nostalgic for the good old days when things were more simple. But even considering limitations and backwards compatibility, we have never in the history of video games had a bigger selection of games to choose from. Advancements in technology mean that games can now go places and do things that we could only dream of just a few years ago. There are so many tools and platforms available to indie devs that make creating and distributing games more accessible than ever before. And while we're on accessibility, more options in both hardware and software are becoming standardized so that people who are neurodivergent or physically disabled can join us in playing games more comfortably. While we shouldn't be afraid to be critical when it calls for it, and boy does it sometimes call for it, I think we could all benefit from taking a step back and appreciate not only all the incredible games we have now, but the ones coming down the road in the years ahead. That game that you've been on the edge of your seat waiting for, it'll come out when it comes out. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be garbage. But until then, the time is going to pass no matter what you're doing. Are we going to spend that time refreshing, overanalyzing, and getting our hopes up for something that might never even come out? It's tempting. But I think we'd all be better off if we just had a little bit more patience, lived in the moment, and enjoyed a game that we can play right now.